Hi, we're Francis O'Rourke and Evan Biggers, and this is CloseKnit. Our project is grounded in 3 UN Sustainable Development Goals: reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, and climate action. Addressing fast fashion exploitation of workers, its environmental harm, and the need for local circular alternatives that actually feel accessible to everyday customers. For our problem statement, we look at the lack of awareness and access to sustainable everyday clothing. It pushes people toward cheap synthetic fast fashion, which increases pollution, exploits workers in the global south, and ultimately costs consumers more in the long run due to poor quality.
When looking at the environmental, social, and economic impact of the fast fashion industry, we can divide it into two main categories. Locally, CloseKnit keeps clothing circulating within communities through the garment exchanges and events, as well as reducing textile waste and strengthening local economies. On the global scale, scaling circular fashion habits helps reduce carbon emissions, limit overproduction, and shift the fashion industry away from overconsumption. Some of the affected communities that we chose to look at for our project included two main sides of this dichotomy, which is consumers and workers. On the consumer side, consumers face poor quality garments designed for rapid disposal, aggressive trend turnover, and hidden environmental costs, which in turn pressures them into unsustainable buying habits. On the worker side, fast fashion's relentless production cycles often rely on underpaid labor, unsafe working conditions, and exploitative supply chains that place factories' workers' health and livelihoods at risk. For our key statistics, we want to showcase two sides of this problem. On one side, we wanted to address the amount of waste and pollution that the fast fashion industry is responsible for. In this, fashion contributes to about 10% of global carbon emissions, and clothing production has doubled while garment use has dropped. On the other side, we wanted to showcase the opportunities that CloseKnit has to promote circular economies. And in that, circular business models are projected to grow significantly, showing there are real opportunities for change in the industry.
For our personas, we looked at two opposite sides of the spectrum from Eastern and Western perspective. Our first persona is Thema, representing textile workers in the global south. Her pain points stem from the constant demand for fast fashion, which leads to pollution and exploitive working conditions. And then on the other side, we have our second persona, which is Wesley, a Western consumer. His pain points include lack of accessibility awareness, affordability, and information overload, all of which push him toward fast fashion despite better intentions. For our key competitors, we looked at some popular mainstream secondhand shopping apps: Depop, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, and eBay, all of which are pre-existing apps in the online secondhand shopping industry and encourage reselling and recycling used and vintage clothing rather than purchasing from large corporate manufacturers, which was our intention as well in going into creating this app and taking influence from these popular platforms.
When we were looking at these competitors and through our user testing, we found some common user pain points that emerged. One being that there was a poor search and filtering, which made it hard for consumers to parse through the overload of information that exists on these sites. Furthermore, we found that a lot of these apps, especially apps like Facebook Marketplace, have variable and inaccurate location indicators, and it's difficult for users to find things that are in their local region even when designated. In this, we settled on our how might we statement, which is how might we provide a sustainable shopping alternative for everyday consumers so that they can have access to clothing while reducing their carbon footprint.
And in evolving our ideation, we focused on reducing information bloat, improving algorithmic curation, and clearly separating community features from direct commerce to make the app easier to navigate.
For our user flow, we intended to outline the full buy and sell process end to end. This helped us refine how information is structured so users can move through the app intuitively without unnecessary friction. For our low fidelity wireframes, we wanted to showcase the core app structure from browsing garments to events and messaging. We divided the app into two clear channels, garments and events, prioritizing clarity and streamlined information. Following our low fidelity wireframes, we made some new iterations and improvements. Our main iteration goals were to refine the homepage, ease navigation, and build incentive systems that encourage sustainable participation without overwhelming users or necessarily promoting overconsumption.
In looking at some of the notable changes we made, one of our biggest features was the donation drive feature, which would be a monthly donation drive. Users can ship clothing to CloseKnit, earn tier discounts, and support sustainability initiatives. This adds gamification while directly tying user action to our SDG.
For our high fidelity prototypes, we started with a splash screen that brings the user to a login page, followed by a home screen. We also improved the home screen layout to include more of the app's features and expanded the For You page layout. Furthermore, we added a messaging feature, expanded the seller listing ability, and refined events. Moreover, we refined the receipt page, garment search screens, and expanded the listing and event view screens, as well as adding conversation.
Looking back at our process and final outcome, throughout this process, research, persona, user flows, and competitor analysis helped us rethink what a sustainable fashion app could look like and overall how it could better serve our users. And connecting that back to our SDGs, CloseKnit directly does connect back to reduce inequality, sustainable communities, and climate action by offering a cleaner, more ethical way to consume fashion.
Now moving into our high fidelity prototype walkthrough, you open to a login screen, which takes you to the home screen. Here you can browse buying, selling, and events, as well as get a short view of your recommended or For You page. You are also able to navigate to the messaging tab, your For You page, and your profile. This also houses our donation drive, which you can click here to see the instructions to participate. Moving to our buying tab, you are brought to a page of garments. We initially segment these into women's and men's department. And if you see something you're interested in, you can click through to view the listing. This includes size, condition, price, name, and description, and purchasing. Here you can download your receipt and see your order. You can continue to a list where you can filter more garments and search generally. We also host a messaging feature where you can see recent contacts as well as open a chat with them and message. Now we're going to take a look at the profile page where you can view not only your seller rating, but your history, ratings, and reviews, as well as any active listings that you might have open. For selling, you open up to this page where you can choose between posting a garment or an event, and select it as either an online purchase that you ship to the buyer, or as a pickup where the buyer comes to a select location. You can also put your price, the condition, and the size of the garment, add pictures, a title, and a description. Moving on to the events page, you can see events that are nearby you, see when they're happening, where they're happening, and at what time. If you find an event that you are interested in, you can RSVP and read a description as well as get an address for the event.
And thank you so much. This was our presentation.